Hi everybody, Russ from Miami's 11. Hope you're all safe and well. New channel, please consider subscribing and hit the bell icon. Also, don't forget, obviously with recent announcements, we really need to help out the Iron supporting food banks, guys. So make sure you donate to the Just Giving site, which is everywhere anyway. So make sure you do that. Hopefully, we're well on the way to reach our 20k target by the end of September, so it's all good. But anything we can do could help them now, particularly this time now, as it looks like we're not going to have any fans in the stadium until at least God knows when. Anyway, someone who's been very opinionated on that matter is our guest. It's almost like it's all planned, but I'm very, very grateful and humbled to get Jimmy on today. Obviously, everyone knows Jimmy. God, yeah, 5 years of the club. The promotional season. Getting injured in the playoff final, still getting booked, which always still knocks me off today. Amongst all of everything, and obviously, saving Frank's penalty. That's probably it, isn't it? I mean, that's something funny. But it's Jimmy. Hi, Jim. How are you doing, man? You're all right?
Yeah, great, Russ. Thank you. Great to be here. Finally with you.
Finally.
We've tried for a little while, haven't we? But
breaking the fourth wall. Me and Jimmy have been for months, but we finally got it. And apologies if Jimmy's a bit jumpy. He needs to update his iOS and his iPad. Bless him.
I'm such a technophobe, mate. Honestly, this modern world isn't for me. I might be jumpy if I'm telling any stories.
Yeah. How have you survived?
I keep trying to get my boy in the background a little bit there as well. He's just somewhere.
Bless him.
I can't get it.
Oh, dear. How have you survived in this sort of weird new world we live in? Then.
It's exactly that, and it's a weird new world.
Yeah.
It's been tough, really tough, and listen, I think it started off. It's probably not the show to go deep in it, but
no, we can. We go as deep as you want, Jimmy.
Nah, it's probably a bad idea, mate. It's a bad idea at the minute, but listen, it started off horrendous, didn't it? It's been horrendous all along it, and so many people did so many courageous things to keep us safe, and and that'll never be forgotten. I don't think by anyone. Well, it shouldn't be by anyone.
No.
And it was such a tough time, and everyone did their bit. We all stayed indoors and did what we could do. That's as little as we could do, and people on the front line did everything and risked their life to keep it. And I think we did really well to, as a nation and around the world to, control it as well as we could do. And we don't know the ins and outs of everything. I don't think anybody does. So to get through it like we did was great. And now it's just, it's unfortunate lately that it's still lingering, and it's really tough.
Yeah, I mean, they did. I mean, to be fair, they were predicting ever, from when we went the original lockdown that it was going to be September, October, we were going to do second spike syndrome, and so they are right. But it's just a bit unfortunate how it's all. We just started to get things moving again, but
we always want more, don't we? We always want more. We want it done now, and just for the season restarting for me, and the fans not in is. I was really looking forward to them getting back in October, even like sort of lower capacity, just to get them back involved in that. And I just think, I think the way I see it, just people are a little bit torn by everything about, what we can and can't do. And a lot of it doesn't seem to have got enough detail. They just blanket shut off football, which is probably one of the safest places to be, is outdoors maybe. And I'm no scientist. I don't know the ins and outs, but it just seems to me, I can go in a shopping centre surrounded by thousands of people, yet I can't go in the outdoors, surrounded by thousands of people watching or doing something. I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm still involved in it at Ipswich, so I'm still involved in the games. But if I weren't, I'd be going down the Hammers watching the game if I could.
Yeah. It is weird. It is weird. It is. Obviously, I'm still there, so it's like it is strange. I've become a bit acclimatised to it now. I think because obviously we had probably half a dozen games last season, and now we've had like quite a quick run of games this season already, and. Yeah, it's just strange. It is weird, but
I hate it. I'll be honest, I hate it. It's one of those, and the season's kicked off. Obviously, like same at Ipswich at the minute, so you have a job to do, sort of thing. But without the fans in there, it does really feel like a job.
Yeah, sure.
There's no emotions, and you try and force it because you want to win the games of football. You want, and the fans are watching back home, sort of thing, and that, and you want to do the best, and the lads are preparing exactly how they would do, but. Just takes so much away from it. Listen, if we don't appreciate, and clubs especially don't appreciate fans more after this, then they never will, and never will have learnt nothing. So hopefully, if something comes out of this terrible situation, then it's that, and the clubs look after the fans a lot more, because without them, the game's nothing really.
No, you're totally right, totally right. And I mean, it gets to the point now. I find it so quiet. I mean, obviously yesterday, the whole game. You're speaking about being safe and not catching anything. That was interesting. That was interesting. With all Mr. Moyes and Mr. Diop and Mr. Cullen, bless them.
Yes.
Yes, that was very, 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 very
Yeah,
unusual.
bad timing.
It was, yeah, it really was.
Bad timing.
It is what it is. But I never
and it's not great. And we have
No.
to. It is still around. We're gonna have to learn to live with it. It's my only thoughts. It's
You have to, yeah.
and we have to protect people who are vulnerable. I do totally understand that. There's people in my family who are really vulnerable to it. You have to protect that, but we have to find a way within. And he's talking about 6-month time scale for me. We've got to learn to live with it before that. I think clubs. Well, I think we've already spoke about clubs will fold. I don't know how the Prem.
Yeah, they
I
will.
don't know how the Prem clubs, the big boys, even sustain themselves. Gav Bell paying £300,000 a week or whatever, and that's not an uncommon figure now.
No.
Like it's ridiculous. But how the Prem clubs sustain that as well? Never mind the smaller clubs. It's an impossibility. So we have to learn to live with it somehow. And like I say, I'm not a scientist. I've not got any of the answers. But it just seems to be you can do one thing and you can't do another. It don't quite add up to me at the minute.
No, it's true. I know exactly what you mean. And yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously you saw the Orient game, the Spurs game that obviously got completely postponed, and I think nothing will probably do anything. To be honest, I remember when it all started, and it was only every other league. Do you remember every other league in Europe and the US had stopped all theirs? It was only when Arteta got it, like a Premier League. It's actually no, we'll close it now. That's it, we're done now. And I think it'll be the same. So as soon as you start getting a Premier League team having to not forfeit a game, but cancel it and reschedule it because of, I think then maybe. But who knows? As you said, we don't know. We survived before. I'm not being funny.
And we'll survive again.
Exactly. I think once you get a vaccine, it's a lot easier to deal with. The flu, for example. I mean, we look at it. I mean, we're getting very, very deep. But
absolutely, listen, every death's a tragedy. It is, especially from something like this. But there's been so many things that's come to test us over the years, and we've always overcome it. We do a lot of things wrong with the world, but we also do a lot of things right. And as soon as we can crack on as normal with protecting as many people as we can, then the better for me.
Yeah, agreed. And
cool, that was deep, wasn't we?
We are deep. That's the thing. It's like the whole point of this channel is to be like, a couple of blokes sitting in a pub. Obviously, we can sit in the pub until 10 o'clock, but after 10 o'clock. That's the thing.
I hope there's no injury time. By the way.
Well, that's the thing.
People out.
The first, is it Arsenal Liverpool Monday?
But this one, people don't think about it, do they? Like, it's not been thought about in detail. Like even that. Well, okay, well you're doing that, then surely you'll think about people who are going to be in the pubs at 10 o'clock. This is the last 5 minutes. Imagine a penalty being in the last couple of minutes about to be taken.
Go on, guys, get your glasses.
Time at the bar. You just don't have just change the kickoff time if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's your date is suggesting that you have to do that. Change the kickoff times then. Change the transport times to different things. Yeah. You have to. There's knock-on effects to different things. It just looks like they've blanketed one thing and gone right. We're doing this without any thought to anything else. I mean, I take Ipswich. Like Ipswich have very limited COVID cases and have done for months. And why do they have to be blanketed with another area that maybe has a lot more cases that maybe can't go back to bringing fans in? Ipswich have got hardly any cases at all, which is a great thing. But why can't we've got a whole 30,000 in the stadium? Why is it a blanket across the board? Why would you not say, well, Ipswich is in this position, maybe they could bring 6,000 fans into the game? Maybe another team are not in the position to do it because there's been a spike in case or whatever that time. So we come off that. I don't know.
You think? I mean, the fact is that they are sort of locking down some like a lot of the northern cities like Newcastle and stuff. And I think it's right. Then you should just be the same thing. So if Newcastle locked down because of well then St James's Park is closed, but London Stadium is it
absolutely
or
clubs
exactly. Portland Road or whatever.
Clubs can have a plan A and B for that, at least. At the minute, they've got no plan at the minute. It's just like, right, can we do it? Can we do it? And then just before we're doing it, no, you can't.
Yeah.
So you have a plan A and B, right? If there's no cases or cases get above this, then you can't open. If you can, then you've done your trials and you're set for so many fans coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I say, I haven't got the answer. It's a real tough one. It's a tough one. And you want everyone to be as safe as they can be, but to get back to some sort of
it's some
normality.
Sort of normality. Yeah, exactly. No,
it
is. It's normality, exactly. And it's like, I mean, I just went back in the office last couple of weeks, and it's like, right, okay, back, sit back home again. All right then. But my daughter's still at school and stuff, and
well, for me, just to get back to work, out in the open air and coaching and working with the lads and the club, it's different down there. We're not using the change rooms as such, and there's no food and that. But you can get on with that thing. It's at least I've got a bit of normality back in my life. I feel for the people who can't do what they need to do, and I know a lot of people are struggling from it, and that's really tough for them. Football's a release for a lot of people, and it's a fantastic release. It's not the answer to everything, but the game is a game we love, and it's a release, and it's it's a fantastic sport that we all want to watch. All sports, whatever you're interested, it takes you away from any problems you've got at times, and if we can get back to that for some people, it'd be a godsend for them.
Yeah, and it was obviously, and that was really, and I think that was really important that we had restart. Just to get something different, and also something different to watching the telly. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've had a couple of the
rubbish.
Well, I've had a couple of the EastEnders boys on recently, like Perry Fenwick, and got Jamie on as well, and. And they've been like, because obviously where you're the same. You can do some of your job on here, talking to the players and making sure they're all right. But obviously you can't do your job, and they can't do EastEnders. They can't act on Zoom, and they were bouncing off the walls and stuff. But,
I can imagine. It's so tough when you like I say, being taken away from doing what you love and what you're good at. It's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for a lot of people in all walks of life. Yeah. So tough times.
It is. But
hopefully everyone gets through it. If anyone's struggling, get on my Twitter and say hello to me, and I'll try and give you a bit of banter.
He'll give you a bit of banter back. But But that's the thing. You do have the. Could you imagine if it was like, I don't know, 20 years ago when this happened? We wouldn't have Twitter, Netflix, Zoom. You'd probably enjoy that though.
In some ways, the world would be such a better place, wouldn't it? I mean, I love the social media. I've got more on board with it when it first came out, and Twitter when I was still playing. I was like, what on earth are people doing on it? I never did Facebook. I never did nothing. Stayed off everything really. Like, tried not to read the papers. Just went about my business. So in some ways, it's a better place when it's not all there. But if used right, it's fantastic, and it's a great opportunity to speak to people you've not spoken to for a while, people you've never spoke to before, and you can interact with it. People take it too far, and I don't think. I mean, I made a pact during the lockdown because I think I said something about. I think it was actually Sam Smith or something, the singer who was having a bad time, and I said something like "man up," and I thought, and someone said something. I went, you know what, you're so right. I don't know what he's going through. I don't know what other people are going through. Who am I to comment on anyone else's life and what they're going through? You just don't know. No, so I made a pact during that time that I would never slag anyone off on it or speak badly about anyone. I'll give me opinions still, of course, will. But
you've got an opinion.
Everyone has an opinion. That's the beautiful thing. That's why everyone loves football, because it's a game of opinions. Who's to say who's right and who's wrong?
No, you're totally right, and that's probably why people like the channel, because everyone that comes from if it's a fan or a player, they come from different perspectives. Mainly, obviously, from the fans' perspective, different eras, who they like, who they hate, and that's what's fun. And anyway, talking about West Ham. 30 minutes in, that's not too bad for me, actually. It ain't too bad.
You better edit some of that.
Oh no, Gio, no, it's raw, it's unedited. That's the way we like it. Right, so obviously, we know the story. 2004. Obviously free transfer. Was it? I mean, I know it, but it's nice in case other people, because obviously I've seen you do it. You interview this type of question before. Was it always going to be West Ham, or was there other clubs involved?
No, I mean, at the time there was other. I was at Walsall at the time, and I mean, I love Walsall. My time there was special to me. I did 10, 11 years. I just had a testimonial season there, and we'd been in the Championship for like 4 or 5 years. Which when I joined, there was in Division 3. It was then. That's how old I am. Division 2 now, and we gradually worked through the leagues and got into the Championship for 4 or 5 years, and we had a really good side that year. And we actually went down that season, which was so disappointing. I'd love to, if I was going to leave, have kept them up that season again and then. But anyway, at the end of that, it was. I mean, I played against West Ham before it. And I think it was a 0-0 I'd kept at Upton Park, and I remember looking around going, this is a bit of me, this. I knew I was on a free transfer at the end. I had a few other clubs have spoke to me about what my plans were in the summer. I'd got wind pods, fancied me a little bit. When I got there, I could see like it was almost as if you put on. I think they put Brian Dean on at the end. They put Big Ian Pearce up top. I think if I'm remembering right, they put about 4 of the biggest lads you've ever seen up top and just lumped it in the box, which is very on West Ham.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, is he testing me here? But I thought, sorry, I'm coming for everything here if I get a chance. So I did, and I managed to. We kept a clean sheet that day and got a 0-0. And when I went to get me back in the day, you used to take the glove bag and put it behind the side of the goal. And when I went to get the glove bag and the towel and that, I got a real nice
clap.
Nice clap off the fans, and West Ham fans are brilliant. I had a fantastic. I love it there. And it was mate, and they clapped us off the pitch, and I thought I could have a bit of that, and that's what I get playing against them. Can you imagine if I can produce that playing for them?
Yeah.
So it was always in my thoughts. Then I was just waiting on pause and waiting, and as the season progressed, I sort of got more and more that he wanted to take us there. And one of my old mates actually told me, 85 actually, said he really likes you. You've got a real chance. And I spoke to him before the playoffs, and I weren't sure how it was going to go. I didn't know if it was better if you got in the Prem or stayed in the Championship for me. Because I knew if I was in the Champ, I was tried and trusted at that level, sort of thing, And so I thought I had more of a chance of playing in the Champ. But if you went up to the Prem, maybe you still wanted us as backup, maybe pushing whoever they had in there as well. So I was torn which way I wanted to go. Obviously, when they lost that to Palace, I met Paz a couple of days later, and he was, to be fair to him, he was lower than a snake's belly.
Can you imagine?
He was low, even to the point I'm thinking, I'm not sure this guy actually wants me to come and join here. But we ended up chatting about it, and I didn't get some great vibes from Pods that day. I mean, I love Pods ever since, and I owe him a debt of gratitude for taking a chance on me to take me there in the end. But it only swayed me when I went to the ground and he said, right, well, look, if we can get it agreed, why don't you go down to the ground with the doctor, get the medical done, because I was going away on holiday the next day. And then if we can get it agreed over the next few days or whatever, when you come back on holiday, you can sign it. And I actually went and stood on the round, in the centre circle at Upton Park, went and stood in the goal mouths again, and had a look round, and I just thought, this is me. I wanted this for a long while. I love my time at Walsall. It was great. And every time we travel to places like West Ham and that, I'm thinking that I need to test myself.
Yeah,
I need to test myself at this level. And I always wanted to play in the Prem like any kid growing up does, and any player wants to. You want to play at the highest level possible. I still had England aspirations. I mean, I know I was 29 at the time, and it sounds a bit crazy, but I still thought if I get the right team and go in the Prem and can play in the Prem with them, then I'll see how far I can take it, sort of thing. So West Ham fit every bill for me on that front. Big club, needed to get back in the Prem at the time, to be honest, as well. So I thought if I can go back up with ease and play a big part in that, maybe I'll start the season in the Prem, and who knows from there where it can take you. So that was the plan. So I made my mind up on the Upton Park pitch that day. I'd made my mind up against when I kept the clean sheet before, but I wasn't sure if it was going to come true or not. So when the offer was actually there, I didn't really even speak about money after that. I probably could, if I'd used an agent, I'd have probably got a much better deal. But I just wanted that over the line. So I just rang Pars after and went, look, just get it done. I'm in.
Get it done,
Get it done, I'm in. I don't care. I'd probably done it for nothing, if I'm being honest, but don't tell him that.
Don't tell him that. It's a bit late now. That's the worst negotiation starts ever.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I'll do it for everything. Yeah. And obviously then you signed, and then obviously we went up. So, and then the whole thing around, the playoffs again. What's it like from a player's perspective with the playoffs? Because obviously, you've had that whole season, and then you've got to pick yourself back up for those. Obviously, we were sort of, unlike the season before, we were like the Crystal Palace. So we were we had a brilliant run, didn't we? Those last few games to get up there. So it's probably a different thing. But was it just keep momentum going? We can do it.
For me personally, it was about 6 seasons rolled into one.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't start the season where I was hoping to get the nod. I didn't get really run out. I played a couple of cup games, and I got the Chelsea game obviously, and I learned what the fans were about after that. That was my first taste of it, properly.
Yeah.
And that was mate. I still didn't get the nod again after that. I played a couple of games where I was off. I came back from injury too quick, but I had wind I was going to play, so I thought I'm playing. I think I got man of the match in one game. Didn't have a great game in the next one, and then was okay in the next one. Then Paws dropped me again after that, so I was chewing again, and I had to wait my time until it got to, I think it's sort of maybe 17 or 18 games left of that season, and we looked like in danger of missing out on the playoffs.
We did, yeah, definitely.
And like, as much as a player you get shielded from it, you hear all the stories about, we could go out of business here, sort of thing. And if we don't go this year, we're in serious, talk of admin and all that. And it was, so you hear all that and think, come on. And we played Wigan away. I mean, I've spoke about it before, and out of nowhere, I mean, I was enjoying Essex probably far too much at the time when I weren't playing. And it was a great place to live.
It is, yeah.
And it was magic. But it was. And I had no sign of playing. And just we was Wigan away, and Paz just pulled me in the changing room, in the shower room. Actually, went, "I need you today, goalie." I'm like, "What? Now you need me?" And a bit stronger words. Anyway, yeah, what you got for me? I said, "All right, leave it with me." And then I'd not really played for a few months, and I think it was just one of those games. It was meant to be after that for me. I think we went 1-0 down. And I'd made a few saves. We ended up going 1-0 down. Straight at the other end, I think we scored again. I think Teddy might have scored.
Yeah, Teddy,
to take the 1-1. If it had carried on for a little bit longer and they got another, we was mid-table. We was struggling. I think on the bus that day, it was like on the coach to the game as well. There was like never been heard of before. The chairman was on it. The directors were on it. And it was all sat round the back of Paws. It was like, you might as well have the Grim Reaper at the back of him as well. And I think it was like, you look here, if we lose today, this could might not be making the bus back.
Yeah.
So it obviously pulled me in the showers and said, right, I need you today. And we got a lot of luck that game. I got a lot of luck personally. I think I made some saves off me backside, and I was sort of a little bit out of position on where I wouldn't have been on if I'd been playing regularly, and the ball just happened to, I've managed to get a block by being in the wrong position. And it was great. And I remember taking a cross late on, I think it was 2-1 up, and Teddy he rubbed us on the head like, Jimmy, that's what I'm talking about. And I was thinking, that's it, we're going up now. And that was it from that moment, And we had some ups and downs leading up to that. We thought we'd missed out. We played Sunderland at Upton Park. I think it was a Friday night, and it was an amazing game. They won the championship at ours that day, which hurt.
Yeah.
And more hurt because we thought we'd missed out on the playoffs that game. We had 2 games left after that, and we ducked out of the playoffs again. And then I think we won the next one, and then we had Watford away.
Game,
Watford away to win, and we needed to win that to sneak in last minute. And you always find that you sneak in the playoffs, and you just keep that momentum going. We had a great team as well. We had so much experience, but so much youth as well. I mean, in front of me that day was Elliot Ward, and going into that was Elliot Ward and Anton Verde, who's 18s and 19s, like the kids, and all this is on their shoulder. But I think it helped them a little bit, because they've got that youth about them, and I think with my experience behind, and it was one of those where I could help them and put them in the right positions, and it worked really well. We had Pauli, there as well, and a lot of experience in the team with them, and it worked really well, and it was amazing. And I think once we got in the playoffs, that was us. We was going up without a doubt. It was written. Sort of thing.
Was, and then obviously we had Ipswich, didn't we? And then those 2 games against Ipswich, and Z-Man's double.
What an amazing goal, by the way! I mean, Marlon's took the 70-yard ball for the second, I think it was, and it was an unbelievable pass. And Bobby's took it. I mean, Bobby was sensational towards the end of that season as well. Marlon zinging a 70-yarder from his own half straight to his strike partner's feet, and he has a touch and lobs the goal. You've got a chance.
Yeah.
But like you say, that it was an amazing time.
In the stars. And then obviously the game it's set, that Preston North End game, it must have been like, from a fan's perspective, we'd already been there, so we're like, okay, but not counting our chickens, I think we did a bit against Palace the year before. I'll be honest, I think we were a bit, and I still close my eyes and I can still see a sea of yellow Palace fans bobbing along. It still haunts me, actually.
It's hurtful.
It still haunts me, even when I still
see that from the FA Cup final.
Yeah, exactly. But with that one, I mean, even when I occasionally I DJ from when I still do a DJ and stuff for family and stuff. If they request Glad All Over, I don't play it just because it brings back those memories. It's really funny. It's so true. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, I'll play that one. But obviously, Preston North End, we were the team in form. What's it like from a play? Because obviously because especially your dream is to play in the Premier League as well. You are 90 minutes away from playing in the Premier League. You must be crapping yourself, to be honest.
Do you know, it's so much easier when you're playing, to be honest,
Really?
than watching. It's so much easier. It's you get the nerves, but I'd learned by that time, sort of 27, 28 onwards, you learn how to use the nerves in your favour, sort of thing. It takes a while, but it can add 10% to your game as well. And so I always loved the big occasions. It was amazing. But like you say, I mean, I got a free from Notts County when I was a kid, sort of after 2 years pro, saying I wasn't tall enough, I was never going to be big enough. And coming through the leagues with Walsall in Division 3, the old Division 3, I was okay at that level, but I'd never be able to go any higher because it was too small.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And it was a bit lazy journalism, whatever. If you watched me for 5 or 6 games, you thought I was rubbish, I'd take that. But people just turn up and go, nah, too small to do any more. Yeah. Then we went up to Div 1, then we went up to Champ. And so, like I said, I wanted to play in the Prem.
Yeah.
Test myself. I knew I could play in it. I just wanted to prove to myself more than anyone else that what I'd been saying over the years was true. And, to do it with West Ham was a dream come true. It was amazing, and it was such a good time, such a great year that year, and everything, so many ups and downs. It was a proper roller coaster, but then through the end and obviously at the end, obviously when the knee went, it was very bittersweet for me. But you know what, I would change probably that and not come for the cross and just let them head it. But with a couple of minutes to go, I'm near my dream. I've waited all my life for this.
You've got to go for it.
I've got 2 18-year-old kids in front of me. I'm going to help them out. Anything that I said to them, just keep a high line. Yeah. Keep a high. As soon as we went monologues, keep a high line. Anything over the top, I'll sweep up. Anything that comes in the box, stay out my box. I'll come and take it. You just stop people coming into me, and I'll come and take the cross for you. And we spoke about it on the pitch, and so when the last minute when it's lumped in the box, I'm thinking there is no way I'm not coming in. No. It was one of those things. I mean, I've took it. I'm probably the highest I've ever been. I've only watched it back a couple of times, but I'm thinking, where am I going? But I've took it so high, and I just don't think the body could cope with it. And I landed, and remember right, I landed just on the edge of the box. It's a movement you do quite a lot of times in training and different games, all week really.
Yeah.
And as I've landed, I'm thinking I'm close to the line there, but if I plant my right leg as I land, I stay in. I'll just lie down on the ball and waste the last couple of minutes, and we'll win the game. And unfortunately, I lay down on the ball, but my knee fell off, and I was outside the box. So it was a disaster. So, and then Stevie Bywater come on, and he don't get a lot of credit. He don't get enough credit for it because to come on at that stage, I always say, because Byers is not the brightest.
No,
he's a fantastic lad. I love Byers, and he was actually a really good goalie. But it helped him because I don't think he realised the enormity of it. And when the I think the free kick went in before him, and it was a little dodgy one, and he's ended up sticking it brilliantly, and that was it. And it was a tough one for me because in that moment I'm thinking I was lying in a first aid room in the Millennium. I've just been outside in front of 90,000 people, and I couldn't hear myself think the noise. And I was sat in a first aid room underneath, watching on a small telly in the top corner of the room. I'm thinking, that what is going on? That should be me. I should be out there. And then I saw him celebrating, and then Johnny Green came in, the physio at the time, and I said, look, I need to get out there, John. He strapped me up, and then obviously I got in the back of Ludo. Ludo helped me round a little bit as I was struggling to walk, and I got some iconic pictures from that. I've got pictures that are still up on the wall. It was amazing. So probably would change not coming for it to give me a chance of playing in the Prem a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't. Oh, do you know what? You can't change things in life. I'd not change anything.
But also, I just think I know from a personal perspective but it just added to the West Ham way of doing it.
Absolutely, everyone says this.
Just lose our goalkeeper with 83 minutes left, and it's like, oh, Steve, oh, bless him. But,
I know.
It's just the West Ham way. But it was just it was amazing. Yeah, it was just it's a great way to go up. Obviously, it's brilliant.
Oh, it was the best. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant. And I mean, even if you weren't already a fan's favourite, obviously, with Frank's penalty, and bless him, that's. I mean, that as I said, that always just cements you in folklore history, doesn't it?
Well, I didn't realise how important that was to the fans at the time.
Of course, you wouldn't.
Obviously, playing a game and it was probably 7,000 or 8,000 West Ham behind the goal, and was enjoying every second of it, and it was an amazing atmosphere. But just the 2 or 3 minutes leading up to that penalty being taken, it was all going off, and I'm thinking, well,
yeah.
And I remember my granddad was always my biggest fan. I remember like having a little look up and going, then I need to save this. Help me out. And I mean, if we had that VAR rubbish now, it would have definitely got chalked off because I was by the 6-yard box.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
I've hit that, and as it's gone down, I just looked round and the fans were going mental, and it was amazing. That was my first real taste of West Ham, and I'll be honest, it was great for me as well. So I didn't really buy a drink in Essex after that.
Nice, I mean,
which was great.
Any, all
for a tight Northern, that was great.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, me? Oh, yeah. Did I ever mention about what I say is a fact bar penalty? Oh, yeah. Well, I want a pint. Thanks. Yeah. No, you're totally right, man. You're totally right. But and that's what I mean. It's just because of that, you've always been this sort of cult hero, amongst the West Ham fans. As you said, you didn't play enough games than you should have done, and I think in particular because of the injury and stuff, but. It's just you're sewn into the fabric of West Ham in sort of that sort of mid early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a good time, a good time to be at the club. We needed that first promotion.
Definitely,
we needed the promotion because the club was in trouble otherwise, and so we managed that, which was incredible. We had the FA Cup the year after that as well. Yeah. We had the Great Escape after that, so it was an unbelievable time. It's a shame I petered out a little bit towards the end, but after the knee injury, I just couldn't quite reach the levels to train. At that level, I needed to train at the top of my game every day to be able to play at the top of my game when the games came around. I just couldn't quite sustain that. It was train like the odd day and manage it, and then I might be able to get through most of the games. But to be at that level, the top level, then I would have had to train every day. I just couldn't quite sustain that. So, begrudgingly found my role as like sort of a number 2, number 3 at the end.
Yeah.
Which was frustrating at times. It was frustrating.
I can imagine totally.
But the first 3 years was incredible. I mean, and we had some great. I mean, Greeny was sensational as well. So, it didn't stop me knocking on Curbs' door a lot of times when Curbs took over, going like, "I'm not playing." I think it was a spell we lost 4-0 3 times on the spin within a week.
Yes.
And so I was straight on Curbs' door, going, "Right, you need me in there. You need some experience, Curbs. Come on." And the Curbs like, "Yeah, but it's Greeny's." All right, he's not done great, but he's England's goalkeeper. He's England's number 1 at the time. I'm like, well, then you're costing me an England place, aren't you? Like, I need to be playing. Get me in there. And I think around that time was probably my last chance of getting in the team and sustaining it. But, it wasn't to be. But like I said, I love to have played a lot more games than I did at the time. I was involved in countless games, but as a player, you want to be on the pitch. You want to be in front of the fans. And that was frustrating at times.
Yeah, no, I can get that totally. Right. Okay, let's talk about your 11, right? Because I know you've been worried.
I've had to write this down,
Do you know what everyone does?
I've had to.
But what they do is they write it, and they write it in formation. It's really sweet. Have you written it in formation?
I've actually written it in formation.
It's so sweet, right? Yeah. So for a player, when we do the 11, it's the players that you've played with during your time. So obviously 5 years. You've had, as you said, there's some cracking players, so it's a real
cracking players.
So, I imagine there'll be plenty of honourable mentions when you're going through it for people you don't miss out.
I've got at least 6 in each position for different reasons, for whether they're good players or good wingmen.
All right, we're good wingmen. Right,
there's a lot of those.
During that time, yes. We've interviewed many people of your era, we'll say, at West Ham. Right, so we'll start off in goal.
All right, so like I say, I can't pick me because I didn't play enough games. I would love to have played more games, but
you could pick yourself now to get those appearances. So it's up to you, man.
I probably actually might just do that then. No, listen, we had Big Shaka was there. Roy Carroll was a fantastic natural goalkeeper, such a good goalkeeper at the time. Had a real presence about him. He had a lot of injuries around the same time as me, so we ended up, probably more the other side of Essex than on the pitch, And on the flip side of that, you had Rob Green, who was, he was sensational. Rob, he wasn't. I think it'd be fair to say, he wasn't the most gifted goalkeeper. I mean, Roy was better than all of us by a country mile. But what Greeny did was he gave himself every opportunity to be the best he could be. Yeah. If I speak to kids now or anything, coming through in a game, he's a role model on the pitch, because he did everything he could to, he lived right. He trained before training. He trained unbelievably in training. He'd stay out there. He'd go back out in the afternoon. Be back in the gym. He just lived and breathed it, and he was amazing. So to do what he did in the game from that position, I would give Greeny the nod. He was brilliant. I always remember the Arsenal game. We beat them 1-0. I think I spoke about it on Twitter the other day. I think it was, and he must have made 18 to 20 one-on-ones in that game alone. And but what people don't see, on the Friday before the game, me and Roy we trained all together. We'd had his lunch and was getting off because it was a Friday. And Ludo and Green is still out on the training pitch doing one-on-ones on the Friday, an hour after everyone had left. And they were still doing it. They must have done it for at least an hour and a half. And so no one saw that side of it. It's only like I looked at that, and then obviously at the game the next day, I was like, that paid off a little bit, didn't it? So it was brilliant. So, for anyone watching who wants to be a player, Rob Green was a fantastic role model for that. He gave everything to be the best he could be. So Greeny would get my vote for that.
All right, okay, Greeny's in. Right, are we playing a back four, Jim? Or are we doing anything creative?
I'm going a 4-4-2.
Nice.
I'm going. Okay. I won't use the what's his name? The England manager's 4-4-2.
Oh, Gareth. Yeah.
But I'm going a 4-4-2.
Okay.
And for one reason alone, because I've got to put one player in who was one of the best I played with at West Ham at the time. And he made us tick, but we'll come on to him.
I love it. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's go left back then.
So we're going left back.
Yeah, we'll go left back.
Left back. They're all really tough. I mean, there's something about left backs for me. They all was really good lads.
I suppose from a goalkeeper's perspective, the fullbacks are the guys you tend to throw the ball out to most, isn't it? And
absolutely. Well, I mean, when I first turned up at West Ham, we had Rufus Brevitt there, and I hated Brev just from playing against him so many times. And he'd always be in the middle of a fight on the pitch and after. So when I turned up and he was the first person I bumped into, Pods actually put me in a room with him, and I'm like, honestly, one of the best guys I've ever met. He was one of the funniest guys in football, and a really good player as well. And I loved him. Still speak to him now. I speak to most of the lads now, but Rufus was fantastic. A fantastic player. Clive Clark there at the time as well, who was great. Chris Powell was fantastic. He was a little bit older at the time, but I think for everyone at the time was for me, and he got his England cap, I think, as well at that time, well deserved. Was Konchesky, who was a great player. He was a really good player, Conch, and I really enjoyed playing with him, training with him. He was great. So I put Konchesky in at left back there.
Yeah.
Ross, just one sec, right? I'm going to take this off because my battery's going to go.
All right.
So let's see if you can still hear me. Hold on one.
Yeah, we'll do, man.
You okay with me like that?
Yeah, I'm all right. All good, man. That's it. Put your thing in. Put your charger on. That's the trouble when you talk about West Ham, Jim. Your battery runs out.
Listen, I could talk for hours about West Ham. I had such a good time there, Is that okay? Can you hear me all right like that?
Yeah, it's cool, man. That's cool. All right, okay. Conch is in.
Conch is in, definitely. Right.
Go on. You go for the team as you want to do, mate.
So right back's another tough one. We had the crazy man Tommy Rebka there at the time, who was. I love Tommy. Such a good guy as well, and he was actually. I don't think he was right back before I'd sort of got there. I think he was centre half and that, and he'd found a little niche at right back, and he was outstanding. To be fair, he had his moments. Don't get me wrong, and he was very rash at times. He just out of nowhere just gone wipe someone out. And you think, what are you doing, Thomas? But he was as well, and he'd be right up there. But for me, there's only one, and he was probably the best skipper I'd played for ever in football. Was Lucas Neal. Yeah. So Lucas would get the nod at right back because he was such a solid player as well. I think he was a little underrated at times, but what he actually gave to the team on the pitch and off it was incredible. I always remember Curbs at the time of the Great Escape. Curbs would come in and give his team talks and pick the team obviously, and then we'd wait for Lucas to get up because it was like listening to like a gladiator speech. No, and he'd get up and at the end of it, we'd be like, "Yes, let's do it, come on!" And everyone and that was it. We'd be out on the pitch, and he was like, "I know you see it on the Tottenham show at the minute, and the captain speaks before it and all that, and says a little bit. It's not great, but honestly, Lucas would have been. that would have been like prime television, because his speeches weekly was brilliant, and he was one of the main reasons we stayed up on that alone, as well as some of the other lads I'm mentioning here.
Anton said the same thing, exactly the same thing about
Did
him. Yeah, in terms of his sort of church. I sort of assumed it more a Churchwellian, but we'll say gladiatorial. I can just
Absolutely.
It's that Australian accent as well. It just adds a little bit more menace into it. Anton tells a story how like basically he called a players' meeting at Upton Park, and Curbs and Mervyn Day, bless him, tried to get in, and he said no and slammed the door and basically said, look, if you don't want to play for us, fuck off, basically, and I'll tell the managers to get rid of you. And I would be shit scared, and it's like...
Well, we had some good characters at that time, and I think you needed it, and Lucas was like the main pivot, and we had so many times like that where we said, right, and I always just speak to Skip all the time, and we go, right, we need a little sit down. And I think it's great at times. Back in the day, you could probably go and have a few beers at the end of it as well. Which was
good point.
Better. But now we say, right, we're going to sit down in this room. We're going to sort out what's wrong here. Like, anyone's got anything to say it now. Let's get it out in the open. We'll have it out now while everyone's here. We'll put it to bed straight after, and we'll go and crack on from here. And that's what it was like. And he was such a good skipper, to be fair.
Yeah, good shout. All right, Lucas Neal's in. Go on, then. You carry on, Jim.
Okay, so centre halves.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned them already. Elliot Ward and Anton.
Yeah.
To be 18s, 19s and playing at that level, that to get us into, with all that on the shoulders, to get us into the Prem was an amazing achievement, and they was so good that year. I mean, Elliot had a decent career after. I feel he always could do a little bit more. Anton had a great career as well. Anton was really good. So, although them two are really up there for me, I mean, Christian Daly, I'll probably put Christian as well because I love Christian. He'd probably more going for his song alone. The song was brilliant. I used to sing along to it when I played. It was brilliant. I mean, you got James Tompkins was coming through at the time as well, and I thought Tompkins was I always had him pegged as like a future England captain. To be honest.
Yeah.
Never quite got to that level, but great player. But for me, the two that stand out came the next year as we got to the Prem, and Big Ginge is now a club legend, and rightly so. His first spell was amazing. His second, when he went back again the second time, was
another level.
He was so, for what he's done, Ginge definitely gets in. And then between Anton and the other one for me was Danny Gabidon. He was a Rolls Royce of a player, Gabs. He was and people don't realise he was out injured for 18 months, and no one could really get to the bottom of what was wrong with him. He always was his groins, his hamstrings, he had a load of ops, and he was out for so long with it, and tried to get back. He was his mental strength was, was sensational to get back from it. And when he played, he was like a Rolls Royce. Honestly, he was great. The pace got him out of any problems he had. He could help me out. He'd help Ginge out a lot. So as a pairing, I go to Welsh boys, and I go Gabidon and Ginge, and Anton would just miss out.
And that's the one thing. That's the one thing about lockdown is if we go back into lockdown, then we'll have more of Gabs's DJing in his loft on Instagram.
He either got a lot better or I got a lot drunker during lockdown.
Oh, bless him. Right, Ginger boys are in. The Welsh boys are in. Ginge and Gabs. Right, okay, go on. Let's go into midfield then Jim.
Okay, so I'll go a definite would be for me, and the reason I'm playing 4-4-2 would be on the left, Matty Etherington. He was, you know what? Every time we played well. Every time he turned up in a game, we played well. He was like, he carried the ball the best I'd seen from anyone. Good pace, but not electric, but enough to get round. And he always picked the right pass. He chipped in with goals. Matt, he was such a good player for me, and he was a great lad as well. I like to say that the lads I'm picking are all fantastic lads as well. Still good friends now. I speak to most of them still now, and it's great to do that. And I think that says a lot about what we had in the changing room at the time as well.
Definitely.
But Matt, he'd play. I like Bo Morte as well at times. On his day, he was probably unplayable. Bowers towards the end when I was there, he didn't have a lot of his days, but when he did, he was outstanding. The one that upset me the most was Freddie Lundberg. I was really looking forward to seeing Freddie. I watched him so many times with Arsenal, going, what a player he is. And he came in, it was like they sent as his brother.
That's the trouble with Arsenal players that we sign. You go through it. Apart from Liam Brady, every player we've had from Arsenal, unfortunately, comes back and just doesn't work. Bless him. But
No,
yeah, Freddie
that
was.
really didn't work. And Freddie was a lovely, great guy
Yeah.
as well, and obviously a fantastic player. But for whatever reason, when he came, it just didn't work out. And
Just didn't click now.
you know, but to dislodge Matty at that, Matty for them 2 or 3 years he was there was sensational.
Brilliant.
Like the driving force in the team for me.
Yeah, and it's sort of an old. When we interviewed him, I introduced him as like the last sort of old, like the last true winger West Ham have had. Because I mean, maybe Bowen now, but he was like an old school winger, wasn't he? He's like
he'd
played
get
him on the
side of you, whip it
exactly.
in, he'd know when to come inside. He was a proper player. That's the reason I played 4-4-2. To be honest.
Yeah, because now they play. I mean, you know, they play inverted wingers and stuff like that. I just, not for me.
Listen, I think you go to the players you've got, but
yeah, you do.
I still think there's room for 4-4-2 in the game now.
Oh,
I think
definitely.
A lot of teams still show you can do it, which is
and
it's a great, especially with these players. You know, you play to your strengths. I mean, I played him a little bit out of position, but the one on the right who would get the nod would be Benny.
Yeah,
would be Yossi. He was a sensational player. Yossi. He was about 5 stone wet through, but you could not knock him off the ball.
That's what they said. That's what Matty said. He loved a little tackle. He loved to get involved.
He got right stuck in. You couldn't get the ball off him. You're just wiry and nothing to him, but you couldn't get him off the ball.
Yeah.
Some of the goals he scored at the time, you know, little dinks and chips and curlers and little through balls for play. He was a sensational player, and you know, he went on a terrific career as well after leaving.
Did first player ever to score hat tricks in the Champions League, FA Cup, Premier League, like all the domestic.
Is it? I didn't realise that. But
yeah,
he was
only because only because we've got another quiz night on Thursday.
I saw that one if I'm ahead of it then.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing the chase on Thursday, but it's good fun. But yeah, Yoshi, man, top player.
Yoshi was great. I mean, Kieran Dyer when he came in was a good player, but he was unfortunate. He got that bad injury early on, and it was like a curse really, because we had Julian Faber, who was, when he first came in, he trained in, I think it was in Austria. Yeah. And the first few training sessions, we went, geez, this guy is rapid, quick. And he was powerful with it. He could smash a ball, and that was only after a couple of days. And then unfortunately, he popped his Achilles in the training. Was like, oh, come on, help us out here. But so them two would have been, you know, I think real good players for West Ham. But then, you know, after the injuries, obviously hurt you. But Yossi for me was another level. You know, he was a top player. Midfield too. I'm really struggling. I've got a real mix in the midfield.
I like it.
Because you got to remember, from when I first came in, I had Mickey Carrick in there.
Yes.
Although he was only there with me for a couple of months before he left for Spurs.
Yeah.
But he was, I mean, look what Mickey done in the game. He was a sensational player. With Stevie Lomas was there with me at the time as well. Steve was what a player, by the way. Like you talk about a driving force, getting stuck in. He was a proper player.
Yeah.
He was a bit older at the time, but around the place, you know, I think at the time I came in, there was 6 or 7 of the sort of bigger paid lads. The pods had to get out, and I think Mickey went, but Lomi was still in there. You had Don Hutch as well. He was a really good player, real quality player, Don Hutch. And them two was probably the ones that was left over. Really, they tried to get them out because it was on big money, but couldn't get them two out, and they stayed. But they was brilliant around the place. You know, they was integral to most of that season as well. You know, even more in the change room than anything. And you know, just to learn from them as well at the time was great. And Lomi was great to me. He showed me around Essex when I first got there.
Showed you around. It's his fault. Was you around Loughton area, or?
I was in. When I moved, I didn't know where to go really, but I ended up settling in Epping.
Of course, yes.
Stevie showed me around there and
near 195. That's why. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all makes sense now, Jim. All makes sense now.
It was probably a little bit too near 195, to be honest. But it was brilliant. I mean, amazing times. But Rio Coker was brilliant at the time.
Yeah.
You know, he looked like going on to be captain of the side for years. He just ended up losing his head and listening to his own press a little bit.
Yeah.
Too much for me. And I'm sure Nigel regrets that. But I love Nigel. He was a great lad. And he looked, you know, he was a real good player. Like, real strong runner with the ball. You know, box to box. He looked like being a real good player, Nigel. And for whatever reason, it didn't quite happen as much as I thought it should have for Nige as well. Lee Bowyer was another one, such a good player in there, clever players. But for me, I mean, and I don't know if you get. I've seen a couple of things you've done, and people always speak about Hayden Mullins, and Hayden for me was he was sensational. He was one of those players. If he's not in your team, you miss him, and you went, that's what he does. And he was.
It's so true, and it is all your era. That makes you sound so old, but you know what I mean. All the players around your time, it makes him sound older. All pick Hayden, and it's funny because no fans pick him. And obviously people always say when you watch football with a footballer, it's totally different, and that's what it is with you guys.
He was. Do you know what? But before you stick him in, I ain't putting him in because I'm going against the grain. But he was the nearest one to going in for me was Hayden, because like I say, you don't play, you miss it. But for me, my two would be one for obvious reasons. But the first one I say was Scotty Parker.
Yeah,
Scotty Parker was sensational.
Yeah, he
was brilliant. I remember sitting in the change rooms with Scotty. I'm doing my book at the minute still. I've got over lockdown. I've got back on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll ever write. I've got too many stories. I'm gonna have to knock them all out. But I remember Scotty P sat in the change rooms, and I think Man City had just come in for him, and basically said for him to kick up a stink to get out, and they offered him ridiculous money. And he said, and we both agreed. He said, if you're going to go, do it the right way. And he never kicked up a fuss. He never did. He got his head down. He said, look, I want to go. The money's ridiculous. What can we do? They wouldn't let him go, and I never heard him say another word about it. He just went to another level on the pitch, and he was a man on a mission after that. He was, and listen, at times not blessed with an unbelievable touch or anything really you'd say would be a top player from, but the amount he gave to a team was ridiculous. I mean, his tackling was sensational. Half of his tackling was from his touch, to be fair, at times, but from his own touch. But he'd go and win it back and then chop someone and then do it again. And he chipped in some fantastic goals for 2 or 3 years around the time. Didn't play with Scotty as much as I'd like because it was towards the end of my time. I was on a bench with him and stuff like that, but he was sensational. So Scotty P get the nod in the middle, and I'd have to go for the other skipper, Nobes.
Yeah.
You know, when I came through, we made a debut together, Southend in the Cup at Upton Park, if I remember right. And, you know, when I first signed, Pars was talking through the team, and he was telling me, right, I've got to get a few of these out, but we're going to get a couple in. He said, I've got a couple of young lads coming through as well. One was Nobes, the other one was Chrissy Cohen as well, who was another good player. But he said Nobes is going to be different gravy, and sure enough, he come and train with the first team that year. He was involved in it. He was such a chirpy git as well, and he fitted in brilliant. You know, it was great. So you got the older statesman and then him in the change room, and it was I think he learned a lot from Teddy Sheringham's and Lowmasters and people like that around it at the time, and Donny Hutch, and that just learned what our players conducted themselves at the time, and knows went on. And the career he's had there is sensational, and listen, love him. People have got their own opinion on Nobes at the time now. I still think he's got a big part to play for the club.
Definitely.
Maybe at times, especially at the London Stadium, the pitch is a little bit too big for him. At times now he's getting on a little bit, but I think he's got such a role to play, in games. And when he played towards the end of last season and when he was needed, when we looked like he was in real trouble, he just comes to the fore, and he always turns up for the big games. And he's been saying that 500 odd games and so many different managers. You're not a good player if you're not getting picked by all those managers and you're staying skipper. So for what Nobes has done and what he in my time there, he was great. He like I say, made his debut. He went off on loan to get some game time and that. And then when he came back, he was even better, and he was around everything, and he was great. And I'm proud to have played a part in what he's got on to done. To be fair, and been in the change room with him, because it's sensational at that level to play that many games.
Yeah, and particularly as you said, in sort of the modern era, having a player do that as a one-man club, it's a rarity rather than the norm. Obviously,
absolutely.
I've interviewed people in the 80s and Tony Gale, and and obviously they were all doing 10 years. Now it's nothing, but here it's like. And you're right, and it's something where although fan, you can never, and the same as playing for West Ham. If you put a shift in, West Ham fans don't you could not, it might not be technical. It's not your fault, but you put a shift in, and no one can ever criticise Mark not putting a shift in. And I think that's
absolutely
why.
not. We used to say that in the change room to anyone that came in.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, talk about Lucas Neal and that, but all the lads would say, like, you talk about the club, you'd integrate them by saying, listen, if you give everything you've got at this club, just leave everything out on the pitch, give everything you can for the fans, they'll forgive everything.
Yeah,
as long as you're, and rightly so, and they know the football, West Ham fans, but if they see you giving everything you've got, they're with you 100% of the time. Listen, if you've got a bit extra as well on top of that, you're going to be a hero.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we used to tell everyone, and you know, I think Nobes for me epitomises that, as well as his Scotty P I put in there as well.
Totally, and I think Nobes learned a lot from Scott Parker, definitely, and I think Declan's learning a lot from Mark Noble. So it's nice,
absolutely. Nice progressions.
And that all three of them do the Parker pirouette, so it's all right. You know, he loved a little turn, didn't he?
He had that on toast, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Right, okay, coming in up front. Interesting.
I need to pick about 5.
That's what I mean. You've mentioned about 5 or 6 strikers already, for various reasons.
I mean, I'll go to close ones.
Yeah.
Because I love Bobby Z. Marlon Hill was sensational. You know, I played a lot of football with these guys over them years. And they was brilliant. You talk about the playoffs that year and you know, and the FA Cups. They was so good players. It was a little bit underrated at times. They all had different things they could bring, and they scored a lot of goals between them, and you know, created a lot of goals as well. And they was great. I love Big Colton Cole as well. He's such a good guy as well. And really effective on the pitch. So you're talking these players are, you know, top, real top players. We had Craig Bellamy as well. Who, you know, Bells was a great player as well. He was a pain in the arse at times, but he was such a good player. I mean, I always remember one turned up and I thought, whoa. And it was Sergei Rebrov. He was like Golden Boot winner in the European Cups, and that. I was like, never quite happened for Sergei, but it was such a good lad. But I mean, one story on Sergei, he couldn't pronounce his A's. But he's like, so long story short, he called me a winker a lot. But Sergio was brilliant, and you know, when he came in, I thought, wow, but it never quite happened for him. But I mean, some days in training, you'd be like, flipping heck, so it's unbelievable. But the 3 I'm trying to separate at the minute, are Teddy, Sheringham, obviously, Dean Ashton, and Tevez, and I'm really struggling. Teddy is just up there as one of the best players I've ever played with.
Sure.
You know, everything about him was sensational. His touch. I just love the way he carried himself on the pitch as well. He had an arrogance, but like, you know, he backed that arrogance up, and he was great. He'd bring people into play. I mean, Teddy was great. I remember one of the first games I played, he's like gone to spin in the back because I've got a through ball across, and he's gone to spin in the back, and I've ended up half volleying one right over the top. And as I'm doing it, he span back round and he went, "What are you doing? No, you players, I'm never going to run in the back." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I'm doing it to create a yard." I'm like, "Oh, that's it's not rocket science, but I get you." So every time I got the ball, Teddy would go spin in the back, and I'd just drop it in front of him, and he'd bring players into it off his chest. It was a great little ploy we had going, and he could finish. He's probably one of the best finishers I've played with, you know. So Teddy, and then I've got Dean Ashton, who, I mean, obviously we spoke about his injuries, and I've spoke with Dean a lot, and I've actually done my own interview with Dean from our website, and it's, you know, it still hurts me to talk about it. Like now, he was at the top of his game. He was just getting his first England squads to break his ankle like that, and you know, and never really got back to any levels he could. We was training together because I was injured with my knee at the time, the second time. And I know how much it meant to him to get back fit, and he gave everything to get back fit. And he, testament to him, he did. But he was probably a little bit like me in that respect. He couldn't quite get to the levels he needed to. I mean, he did get back, and he did score some great goals. But for what he was actually going to be capable of, for me, he would have been England's number 9 for still now.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Still now.
Without doubt.
You know, for the next 10 years, he would have been England's number 9. He would. I mean, Harry Kane has done unbelievable. Like, but I I've worked with both them players at similar ages for a few years, and Dean Ashton had everything better than Harry at the time.
I agree.
You know, and that, no disrespect to Harry, he's done he's done in the game is unbelievable. He's come on like probably I'd never even believe he would have. But Dino had everything. You know, he was a strong boy. He could run. He could hold it up. He loved the goal with his head, both feet. He had everything, to be fair. And then we've got Tevez, who is probably only a brief spell, but the 3 or 4 months where he actually came to the party, he was unplayable. And rightly so, goes down as probably the main reason why we stayed up that season in the Great Escape year. But we had it was funny because he came in and we're like, he never brought loads to it. You could see glimpses in training, but we're like, come on, we want more. And it never really happened for him. And then gradually, I think it was Spurs. I always say it was Spurs at home when we lost the game.
Yeah, and he couldn't.
He scored the free kick. He jumped in the crowds. The crowd went mental. We end up losing the game, which was a disaster at the time, but it actually made us because I was on the pitch crying. We were all consoling. We were going around telling. Tevez like looking around, going, "Wow!" And you could see what it meant to everyone, you know. And from that moment, something just switched in him, and he was unplayable. Couldn't get the ball off him. You could have given him his own ball, and he'd have won the game on his own. And that's what we did in the end. We just backed him up, you know. And it was amazing. But that was for a 3-month period. And, I mean, obviously, what he did after that, away from West Ham, was, says what a good player he was as well. Yeah. But I can't play Teddy and Dean Ashton together because they're both too similar. So I'm going to have to go with, just because Teddy was that tiny bit older when I played with him.
Yeah.
What Dean Ashton could have been.
Yeah.
And what he actually was at the time, and then what he maybe could have gone to achieve. I'd probably go Dino and Tevez together as a pairing. That is going to take some beating.
Oh, that's pretty sensational, isn't it?
Isn't it? That's top of the Prem right now. That.
Well, it is. You look at that squad, it's like, could do a few of them at the moment, Jim. To be honest, bless them. But
can you imagine those two at the top of the game? They're worth. I can't even think what they were as a pairing. They're probably worth 200 mil.
Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. At least at the moment.
But that's actually a really good side, isn't it?
It is a really good side. It's one of those, like you have those sort of like, particularly during like lockdown, they were like the recreations of horse racing and stuff like that. If you could like do this, it'd be great, and you could have just to see. But also like from like when we interview a lot of the older like Dev and people like that, they were doing that. They were playing sort of that grade of football on like minefields of football pitches.
Unbelievable. When you look back at those games, I mean they were sensational players. If they was playing this day and age, they'd be the best players around. There was
absolutely mental.
To do what they did, like on them pitches with you never had any of that sports science business. No. You never had the best of everything what they've got nowadays. If they could have maybe had that and played now, who knows? They'd be sensational. But every one of them could have played in this era without a doubt.
Without doubt.
Proper legends of the club as well. I'm lucky enough to still go back to West Ham at times, and I still did a box upstairs with them, and I feel honoured to be able to sort of do it as part of with them. Do you know what I mean? Because they're true legends of the club, and the games they've played show that. And fantastic players. So it makes me quite humble to be able to do the things I do with them nowadays. So it's great to go back and just to be part of that West Ham history for me is amazing.
Yeah. No. It's and as you said, it's like you are without doubt, Jim, part of the fabric that is West Ham, and forever you will be. Just even that penalty. I ain't being funny. I know we get back to it, but literally everyone. If you talk about Jimmy Walker, first thing goes, "Oh, he saved the penalty against Frank Lampard."
Yeah,
but no one could ever take that.
No, it's brilliant, and what a great memory. I mean, it's one of my favourite memories as well. Like I joke, like I don't like to talk about it, but I'll hopefully never stop talking about it.
It's like Conch. We had Conch on the other day, and like he's obviously everyone asks him about that. The FA Cup final goal, and he's like, and I was like, come on, was it a cross? And he went, probably.
Did he admit it? Yeah,
he said. He said, well, actually, if I'd scored that like in the Premier League now, I could probably say it was a goal. Because, I mean, you look at how, obviously West Ham, but Payet scores, he used to score goals and they score his, he went, but it was a cross. And I was like, yes.
Did he admit it? Did he really?
Yeah.
I'm very surprised he admitted it. If I'm being honest, he still says to me he meant it.
Must have got him on a good day. But anyway, Jim. Listen, man, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
More than welcome.
And obviously, thank you to everyone for watching or listening on podcasty stuff. Wherever you do, make sure you share it, guys. Make sure you still donate to the Just Giving site for the Unsporting Food Banks. And from me and Jimmy, take care, everyone. Stay safe. That's really important at the moment. Come on your wines, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Come on your wines. See you later.